Hi folks, welcome back. So things are going to get more complex and more interesting. Why? Because now we are going to learn about deep learning, right? As the name suggests, deep learning. We are going to get really deep into this. Now, the best way to understand deep learning is remember that here the scientists are actually talking about looking at the ways in which how a human brain works, right? Now, if you ask me, the main thing that you need to be aware of is that inside a human brain, we have neurons. So a human brain is made up of neurons. And now what are neurons? Neurons are nothing but these are the nerve cells that send messages all over your body to allow to do everything from breathing to talking. And the main thing that you need to remember is that these neurons are interconnected, right? They are interconnected to each other. And as I said, they allow you to do everything from breathing to talking, eating, walking, thinking. So whatever you are doing, all that processing, all the messaging is actually being done by these neurons. Right? So always remember that whenever you talk about deep learning, you're talking about how a human brain works. And this level of intelligence needs to be added in your computer program, in your computer model. So always remember that. And the other quick thing I would like to reiterate is we did study that deep learning is a subset of AI or machine learning. So in the outer layer we have AI, in the middle layer we have machine learning, and the middle layer we have the deep learning, right? So let's take a look. So deep learning is a machine learning technique that teaches computers to process the data in a way that is inspired by human brain, right? As I told you, with human brain we have neurons or the nerve cells. Same way we try to use the same concept in deep learning, right? So with deep learning, as in human brain you have neurons which are interconnected. Same way we have a concept of neural networks. That is what they call the neural networks. And again you will see that it is all interconnected. So at the heart of deep learning are artificial neural networks, which are algorithms, right? At the end of the day, it is nothing but these are computer programs, right? These are algorithms that we are following, which are inspired by the structure and function of the brain. Again, as I told you about neurons, interconnection of these neurons, this is actually a human brain neuron interconnection. Same way we have the interconnection of the neural networks, right? So a human brain contains millions of these interconnected neurons. Remember, we are not talking about 10 or 20 or hundreds of these neurons in a human brain, right? We are talking about millions and millions of these interconnected neurons, and they work together. As I told you, eating, drinking, sleeping, whatever we are doing, the processing of messages, this is all happening with the help of neurons, and they're all interconnected with each other. So this is a human brain, and this is how a neural network looks like. So doesn't it look similar? Yes, it does. You can think of it like these are different neurons, like neuron 1 connected to neuron 2, connected to neuron 3, and same way they are like interconnected to each other. So artificial neural networks are made of many layers. Remember, we call them layers. So this is one layer, this is second layer, third layer, and there could be several layers, right? So these are made up of many layers of artificial neurons that work together inside the computer. So as I told you, there is a neuron in human brain. Same way in artificial neural networks or neural networks, we have neurons, right? And because they are not real neurons, we call them artificial. So what did I tell you in our very first lecture? What is artificial? Something that is man-made, right? So that is why we call it artificial neuron. It is not the human neuron, right? And yes, very important feature. Now you need to remember we studied about machine learning. So in machine learning, we saw that you give the input, you do some kind of feature extraction, right? Let's say I'm talking about labeling my data. Like, let's say you're giving the pictures of cat, dog, and you're labeling them. Okay, this is a cat, this is a dog, and you're also looking at the features. What is the length? Or when we talked about the iris flower, we talked about the sepal length, sepal width, and we labeled it. And then we pass it through the classification, and then you get the output. Now, the scientists thought that, okay, it's all good, but here you have involvement of a human being. Why don't we, sorry, why don't we get rid of this human being and bring the entire thing into a neural network? And this is what a neural network does. So you are removing the dependency on the human experts. So whatever things like feature extraction that a human being was doing here and then passing over to classification algorithms, we have combined these two together into a neural network. That's the beauty. If you see feature extraction, classification, it's all getting combined and there is no role of this human being here, right? So it removes some of the dependency on the human experts. Now, it's not completely, you need to remember, we're not completely getting rid of humans. It is just some of the dependencies being removed. Okay, now the thing is, what are these now different layers of neurons? And in the next lecture, we will study about neural networks, so you'll get more understanding. But deep learning models consist of layers of interconnected nodes or neurons, right? As you saw, they are all interconnected, right? And deep refers to the number of layers through which the data is transformed, right? That is how you get the word deep, because there are so many multiple layers that you have to go through, or the data has to go through as part of the data transformation, right? So that is why it is called deep learning. And yes, deep learning excels at learning from unstructured data, right? And not like machine learning where you are giving labeled data or even unlabeled data as well, right? But here it is even unstructured data. The data doesn't have any kind of structure. So it is up to the machine learning, or I should say deep learning program or model to find out, to figure out, okay, what kind of feature differentiation I need to find out, right? So this is all done based on the intelligence of the model. So deep learning excels at learning from unstructured data, like it could be images, text, or sound. So an example we give is recognizing faces using the convolutional neural networks. Now you might have seen in certain movies that they show that, okay, they are looking for a culprit and they're looking for several photographs and they're going through and they're trying to match it with the actual photograph, right? So this is how it would be like you're recognizing a face in the images. So this is a convolutional neural network. And yes, it is deep. So obviously you need large data requirements. So you need to actually gather large amount of labeled data for training. So you can't just go with 100 or 50 or thousands of records. You need really large amount of data to train your model. Only then you would get accurate results, right? And yes, because you need large amount of data, obviously you need processing. So we have a concept of GPUs, which is called graphical processing unit. Don't worry if you don't understand this. When we go to the AI infrastructure, we'll do more deep dive into GPU. I'll show you a demo of how GPU works as well. For the moment, just remember, because you have to process a large amount of data, obviously you need large amount of computational power, and that large amount of computational power is coming with the help of GPUs, or the graphical processing unit. Something similar, what we had CPUs, now we will have GPUs, right? And yes, it can be used in versatile applications, like it could be used for various applications like autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars, medical diagnosis, and NLPs, or natural language processing. Pretty self-explanatory. And yes, very important, there are the tools and frameworks that you need to be aware for deep learning is, there are tools like TensorFlow, there's PyTorch, and there is Keras. So Keras is one of the library. It is a library. We call it a deep learning library of Python. right? It's a deep learning library for Python, which is used for building and training the deep learning models. And don't worry, we'll have an exciting demo using the Keras library as well as part of the upcoming lectures. So I guess with this, you get a very good understanding of what is deep learning. Remember, deep learning, whenever we talk about, always think about how a human brain works. Thanks for watching.